Hi everybody, welcome to the January 2015, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying that. January 2015 Houston Clutter Coaching Meetup group. Say hi everybody.
Hi!
Thank you, we have a big group tonight, woohoo. Okay, so it's January, and what does everybody want to do in January? We all talk about resolutions. So today's discussion is about resolutions and trying to execute them around organizing. We're going to talk about the planning process and help you break that planning down into some pieces that make sense and hopefully get you started for the year to get organized so that when you get to this time next year, it will all be finished and you won't need to come anymore. That's my theory anyway, right? Okay. If you're here, we're going to assume, just for discussion's sakes, that your job is not small. So you don't have one room in the house that needs to be fixed. You don't have one closet that needs to be revamped. We're going to assume that your project is bigger than that, and that's part of why you're a little overwhelmed, right? So if that's not true, modify in your own head, but I'm going to assume that we're talking about we want to organize the house for this purposes of this discussion, okay? So let's talk about timing first. So it's almost the end of January, and that puts us out with 11 months to go till the end of the year. And let's assume that you get to December and nobody wants to do diddly squat in the holiday season, right? So let's assume that there's from February to November to work on your project. 10 months, nice round number, easy to work with, right? So let's assume there's 4 weeks. We got 4 weeks in every month. And if there's a 5th week, call it a bonus week, right? So we're going to have 10 months and 4 weeks in each month that you're going to talk about working on, okay? That's 40 weeks total that you get to chop your project up into. Seems like a lot, right? You should be able to get it done by then. So let's talk about this specific week. How many days in the week do you want to be working? 3 days a week? 2 days a week? How many hours? You want to do 2 hours at a time? You want to do 3 hours at a time? My typical appointment is 3 hours at a time. God, I sound horrible to myself. I can tell that I sound stuffed up. 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on your energy level. Let's assume 3, just because that's what I normally do when I work with people. 3 hours, maybe you want to do it 2 days a week. So you can start out by planning. Oh, the coffee has arrived. Yay, thank you. Let's start out by planning what day and what 2 days of the week that you want to work. Maybe you want to do Monday mornings and Thursday afternoons. Maybe you want to do Saturday, all day Saturday. Bad idea. Let me just say that right now. Nobody wants to do all day Saturday. Even I don't want to do all day Saturday, and I do it for a living. So do short appointment times, 3 hours, and do them apart so that you can stay focused for a short period of time, and then you get to the end of the 3 hours and you can do the happy dance, la la la, and be done and walk away. The point about the point that I'm trying to make about it is that it's important to pick the amount of time that you're willing to work and pick the days and set them as appointments in your calendar from now for the 4 weeks of every month until the end of November. And the reason I say that is so that you treat it like everybody that goes to church knows that church is on Sunday morning. So you don't book something else in the middle of church, right? Or maybe you always go to your kid's school on Tuesday afternoons. So you don't book anything else because you know you have an appointment on Tuesday afternoons. Well, so treat the organizing in the same way. Pick your 2 times a week or 3 times a week if you're ambitious that you're willing to work, set them as appointment times and make them recurring so that every Monday morning you know what you have to do. And when somebody says, hey, you want to come on Monday? You don't have to look at your calendar. You can go, Monday morning, this is what I do instead. And don't forget the advice that I always give about these appointments, which are, when you start doing this work, you need to be rested, you need to be fed, you need to be happy and alert. So you want to work in the morning if you are a morning person, that's when you're most alert. You want to work in the afternoon or evening if that's your good time. So everybody knows in their daily rhythm when they're at their best and they can get the most accomplished. And that's the time that you want to pick to schedule these appointments because you want them to be, you want that time to support you in accomplishing the tasks. And if you already find organizing stressful and the decision-making process stressful, it's not a good time to be hungry while you're trying to decide what you're going to throw out. If you're sleepy, your decision-making process is just going to fall off the cliff, right? It's going to slow you down and make it terrible for you. So always make sure that you're in good shape when you go to do it. And pick your appointment times during the week based on that, about what you know about yourself and what will work well, right? Turn the page. So now you committed 3 hours, 2 times a week, 4 weeks a month for 10 months. It's a long time. 240 hours. That's a huge pie, right? Like, surely you can get through your house in 240 hours. So the trick is to set the appointments and keep them with yourself. Now you have to know is, where do you start? How do you divvy it up, right? How do you take that, I need to organize my house, and make it a pie that you can slice into 3 hours twice a week for all that time, right? So there's a couple of ways to do this. There's a million ways to do that. Let me rephrase. But we're going to talk about a couple. And really the bottom line is you do it however you can accomplish it, however it works for you. But I'm going to make some suggestions today. So the first obvious one that everybody tries to do is organize by room. So if you have a 3-bedroom house and 2 baths and a living room and a den and a kitchen and some extra closets and a garage, you've got 10 rooms, right? And you can say, I'll do the garage in February when it's not 100,000 degrees. And I'll do the kitchen in, May. So you can divvy it up by room. If you decide that you're going to do the kitchen in January or February, first out of the gate, you're going to do the kitchen. And that means that you have 6 hours a week for 4 weeks, 24 hours to work on the kitchen. Well, hopefully that'll be enough. Depending on how dense it is, you tell me. But the bottom line is, you can go into your kitchen and call it, I'm going to stay in this box in February. I'm not doing anything outside of the kitchen. And I'm going to work in here until I'm satisfied. And you're going to work in 3 hours and walk away. And know that the kitchen ain't going to be done in 3 hours, right? You're just going to get started. Go away, come back that week again later, and do 3 more hours. Eventually, you will have gotten your way around the kitchen, revamped the pantry, gone into all the cabinets, climbed up over the refrigerator, wherever else you have places stashed, right, that are related to the kitchen. This time includes, now I have this huge pile of stuff that needs to go to Goodwill. I got to put it in the car and drive it to Goodwill. So your 3 hours is also including redistribution time. What you dig out today, maybe you go and maybe you save it until your next appointment and drive off to Goodwill. Or maybe you work for 2 hours and you take an hour loading the car and driving to Goodwill and coming back. That's part of the allocated time. Because sorting the stuff and moving it around and making your choices in the house isn't where the process stops. You also have to take all the leftovers and make them disappear. And they don't magically go unless I come to your house and then I make them magically go. But if you're in charge of your own project, you got to filter that time into the process so that it actually leaves the house. And I will tell you that that's a big stumbling block for people. I'm getting lots of yeses in here on that one, yeah. It is the place where you run out of steam before you have to start loading the car, right? Which is why you have to think about that as you're working. Work, but I got to save this much energy so I can go get it in the car and drive away. And once you get to Goodwill, somebody will come out to the car and take it away for you. You don't have to do anything more, you just have to get it in the car and drive. Excuse me. Factor that processing time, that driving away, distribution time into your deal. As you move through the kitchen, and this is our example, if you get to the end and you're done and you have time left over, awesome, take a week off, right? Or not. But room by room is one way to do it. And sometimes people find that makes sense, and sometimes people find that gets in the way. So the other idea that we came up with was to organize it and break the project up by area of interest. So let's assume that you have a hobby. I'm one of those people. I have a bead room. I have bead stuff everywhere, right? In one big room. There's things everywhere. So if I wanted to organize all things in my hobby, I'd be doing a room and the table and the the shelves that have beads in it, magazines and books in it, and I'd be doing this thing underneath the table that has other storage things, and lots of people have pieces of their hobby in more than one place. So if you want to organize for the hobby, you're going to have to do a few places in the house to incorporate the whole hobby. Then maybe you want to organize the spaces that affect, if you have a guest to come stay, right? So then you have to do the guest bedroom, the bathroom the guest is going to use, the closet the guest is going to use, the hallway that the guest is going to go down. A lot of times people, feel free to come on in. A lot of times people, they don't think about a particular piece of the hallway until they realize that their friend is going to come and stay and wheel their luggage down that part of the hallway. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's kind of in the way. So instead of just worrying about one bedroom, in this scenario, you're going to worry about all the areas that are affected by a guest coming to stay. And I get that call a lot, actually. Clients call and say, oh my God, somebody's coming to stay with me, help, help, help. And I was just working on a house that's, we're not anywhere near through the project, but she was having somebody come from out of the country to stay with her for a couple weeks. And so we had to do the entryway and the stairs upstairs and the hallway down to her bedroom and the bedroom. And ignore the dining room and ignore her bedroom and ignore the living room. And we just we only had enough time to do the pieces where the person was actually going to walk and sleep. And so that's one of the things you can do. This is all about the guest. I'm only going to touch the places that are about the guest. Maybe you want to work on all of the pieces that are affected by you having to get ready in the morning. So that would be your bedroom and your bathroom and your closet, right? And maybe the path to the kitchen or the path to the car where you gather your things. So it's really just a mental exercise to group the house project into smaller bits to isolate them by month. And you can pick the ones that make sense to you, the one that feels motivating to you. Like maybe for this client, it was really important that we get the guest path done because somebody was coming, right? If it makes more sense to you that way, fine. It's really just a matter of taking that whole house and not going, I have to do the whole house right now. You don't. You have to do, in January, this piece, and you get to define what that piece is. Okay? Anybody have questions for me? Anybody hung up in their house right now? Yeah, you are. Okay. Are you willing to tell me where you're hung up?
I can organize very well. I can rearrange, and it can look very organized, and then at the end of the day, I've noticed that there's nothing in the trash. And there's nothing in Goodwill. And so I've downsized from 4,500 square feet to 1,200 feet. And I just cannot,
do the math. What's the percentage
Yeah, it's a lot.
drop is that?
And I just am having the hardest time getting rid of things. And I know, half of my brain knows I don't need 6 Pyrex dishes, but I'm just having a hard time getting rid of things. I hope I'm not the only one.
No. So, and this is another way to organize the project. She has a very defined change, right? So she's going from 4,500 square feet to 1,600 square feet, which is probably like,
around 75%.
there you go. So you got to get rid of 75% of your stuff just to be as packed as the old house was, right? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, you had a house that was 4,500 square feet and it was full up to here. And in order for it to be only that full in the new house, you have to lose 75% along the way, right?
Yeah, it's in the garage.
Yeah, see, that doesn't work. Okay, so one of the things that's tripping you up here is that you can always repack it tighter. But what happens when you do that is that it makes the house a storage unit and not a useful space.
Yeah.
You understand the difference? Like, you can jam those 6 Pyrexes in a stack. You can nest them. I've always got people trying to get me, they want to nest. Well, you can put all these together. Well, yeah, then you got to take 7 things off to get the pain you want. Right? It's a pain.
Exactly.
So you can certainly nest those 6 Pyrex dishes, but then when you want one, you got to pull that whole thing out to get one off the top, and it's going to be a pain, right? You can always make your house a storage unit. You can always jam it up, but then it prevents you from using it. So keep in your head I have to reduce the contents of the kitchen by 75%. That means 3 out of every 4 things you have to give away. That's the measure. And whether you give away 5 Pyrex dishes or 2 Pyrex dishes, if you keep more than 25%, then you're going to have to give away 100% of something else to still come out at 75% of gone at the end. You see what I'm saying?
So when you're working with a client and they tell you, oh, but I might need this, I might need this, oh, I don't know, I just can't get rid of this. What do you say to them? Like, what should my mantra be?
You have to buy 3 hours to find out.
Okay, so let's talk about the Pyrex dishes.
Okay.
The what dishes?
The Pyrex dishes, the heavy glass dishes she's talking about, okay? So, you have 6 Pyrex dishes. Do you cook a lot?
Oh, never. I will one day.
And how long have you been saying that?
Since I got divorced 2 years ago.
Do you like to cook?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't need 6 Pyrex dishes.
Very good. She's
But
out
but
there.
they're still in there.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite Pyrex dish?
No, they're all the same.
So
Same
they're
size.
they're the same they're the same dish 6 times over.
9 by 12.
No difference.
Wow.
Oh, sister girl.
I know.
I mean, you can think of it this way, your oven can only hold how many of those at one time?
There you go.
That's
So,
really good. But your dishwashers can also hold a couple.
Stop. Yeah. Okay. You see what we're saying?
Yeah.
You are agreeing to give up useful items, and I get that they're still useful. I do. Pyrex will live forever. After the apocalypse, there will still be Pyrex. Okay? Unless you throw it against the wall, it's staying.
Yeah.
You know, my dog took a piece of Pyrex off because they had brownies in it, and they took it off the tray, off the stove, and it went boom. It's the only time I've seen a Pyrex explode, but the dog did it. Unless you have animals working on the Pyrex is staying. So you are going to have to agree with yourself that despite the fact that it's useful, it's not useful to you.
Right.
Because you can have 2 and accomplish every cooking task that you need.
Right.
Unless you cook for 48 hours straight,
I know.
right?
But you're
And
assuming
4
that
Pyrex
this
can
is
go
a
away.
reasonable.
I know. But you asked me what I would say, and I'm
Okay,
telling you
yeah,
what I would say.
okay.
That's exactly what I would say.
Okay.
And if you would say back to me, but, we would have this conversation for a little while, and eventually I would surrender to you. And you would still have 6 Pyrex dishes, and you would still not be able to use your kitchen. So my job is to say to you, you can be illogical with me all you want, and you can win, but then you still can't use your kitchen. And I want you to be aware of that when I stop talking. Okay? So that's what I would do in an appointment with you. Make sure that you understand that you're making a choice in no function in the kitchen versus 6 Pyrex dishes. Okay? Okay. You wanted to raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Well, no, it was when she first brought up the point of 6 Pyrex dishes. That was the first key question to ask. How often do you use them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people such as yourselves who don't cook, who would have a professional cook come in and make 6 meals for them, and you'd have 6 Pyrex dishes with a meal in each dish. If you're using them, then they're usable. But if she already answered the question, she doesn't use them. So that.
Well, and you know what? If I had somebody coming in to cook for me,
Right.
yeah, they don't. No. They need to bring their own tools.
I don't know what kind of arrangement she would have had.
Well,
so that's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Some cooks
And
do
here,
that. Some
and here's the truth.
expect to be.
You can always find a reason to keep something.
Right.
This is not the hard part. The hard part is to decide what you really want to live with and manage yourself and take up space in your home and what you don't. And those things are completely different. We know that it's all useful. And I know that every one of you would be standing in your kitchens and saying, but this is still good. Of course it is. I know that. That's the rule. I would never tell you that it wasn't still good. That's not the point I'm arguing with you. The point I'm arguing is, are you using it? Can you get to it? Is it worth keeping it? and using up your space so that getting all the other stuff you own is that much harder because there's 6 Pyrex dishes in the way. Right? Okay. I talked about this, divided by interest. Okay. The bottom line here is, if you want to end up with an organized house at the end of the year, you have to divvy up your calendar. You have to schedule some times with yourself that make you happy. Don't make me happy. I'm not the one working. So if it's only 1 hour, 2 times a week, it's up to you. You get to pick the amount of time you're willing to work. You get to pick the day and the time that you're willing to work, and then make those appointments with yourself and keep them. Make that commitment to yourself. I'm going to work on Tuesday afternoon from 2 to 4. I'm going to work on Friday morning from 8 to 10. I would not work from 8 to 10, but one of you guys might, right? Make that commitment. Do it every week. If you get a month that has 5 weeks in it, you get to take a week off. Woohoo! Right? You get a little break. And at the end of 10 months, your house will be vastly different. Vastly different. And it will be worth the effort of you giving up 4 hours a week or 6 hours a week to make your strides there. Now, could you do it faster if somebody else was with you? Yeah. But you're making the presumption that you want to, I mean, we're having this discussion because you want to do it yourself. You want to accomplish it yourself. You want to work on it yourself. So, maybe you won't go as fast as the Clutter Fairy or Susan Sunflower Strategies. But if you're doing it by yourself, and you do it twice a week until the end of November, you will have put some time in, and there will be changes in your house. That's what I'm saying. Who has questions about this process? Who wants to ask me anything about organizing? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm exhausted giving my daughter stuff, and she says no more stuff. And she suggested consignment. So I sent pictures to a consignment shop that pays 2/3. And I haven't heard back from them, but I've started kind of thinking about that, avenue. But over the holidays, I went through so much paperwork, and there were bags and bags of, trash that I put out of paperwork. So I don't have a problem with that, but like, if I have all these bowls like she does, I mean, I would say, well, I could get rid of 10% easily. That would be painless. And then I do that and then move on to something else that I could use 10% off. But I don't want it to be painful.
So your question is, how can you do it and not be painful?
Well, that's how I would do things, but the consignment part of it has kind of stopped me because I need to wait and they need to approve what I'm,
So the problem with consignment is that consignment is not a bulk solution.
Yeah.
Consignment is a fraction solution.
Yeah.
Because everybody that does resale of any kind, there's store rules, there's drop-off dates, there's forms to fill out. You have all this, there's a bunch of work, prep, cleaning. It has to be in the appropriate format. You can only take 6 pieces of clothing. You can only take 4 pieces of houseware. You can only take paintings that are under 3 feet. You get whatever the rules are. Every store is different, right? And they can process a certain amount of your stuff, but you're going to have a whole lot of work involved in making that happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to take 20 items out of your house instead of 120.
Yeah.
Consignment is never the bulk solution unless you want to become a professional consigner.
No.
And you're like going to every consignment store in the city to get rid of your stuff.
And I've given a lot of stuff to Goodwill, Salvation Army, whatever.
Go for
I
it.
really, throw things out, but I'm a collector, and that's collectors have a hard time with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. But you bring up a valuable point about the 10% that's easy. Everybody, when they're getting started, climbs over the mountain of this is really hard, this is really hard, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And starting with the 10% that's painless, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Because as you get going, you get practice at it, you get better at it, you get more comfortable with letting things go.
Yep.
And there's always more that you can let go of than you think is going to be there. My perfect example is every client that I ever have that has books will have that's a book reader, right? And there's, how many of you guys are book people in here? Right? Okay, so I can guarantee, I've never been in any of your houses, I know that you have a bookshelf somewhere that is completely full of books from top to bottom, and there's books tucked in sideways, right? And there's books on the floor in front. I just know that's true. That's the way readers are, right? And if I was ever to be at your house and say, okay, so can you get rid of any of the books? The immediate response is, oh, no. Those, all the books are, I love all the books. Those are all my books. Don't touch the books. Okay? But every client that I've ever made stand at the bookshelf and filter the books, let's just stand and look at this shelf. Can you just look at this shelf, go down the shelf and see if you want all these books? Oh, I don't like that one. No, I don't like that one. And they start plucking books out. They've just never taken the time to go back and decide, can I get rid of the 10% that's painless, right? So I can always shrink somebody's population of anything just by making them stand still long enough to look at it. And so can you. You just have to make yourself stand there and look at the detail, right? So I'm a beader, and I love all of my beads. Let me just say, love them, love them. I have glass beads, I have lampwork beads, I have seed beads, I have metal beads, I have ceramic beads, I have everything, you name it, it's in my house. Even I can make beads go away, and it's painful. But I can go through and look at stuff and go, yeah, I'm never going to use that. That's not my design style. And I won't, the beads are not going to shrink by 50%, I'm sorry. But I can take 5% or 10% a year off my pile and go stick it somewhere else, because you can bet that I bought 10% this year. So I go to some retreats and I peel off and put them in the white elephant box for some other beader to play with. You can do it too. You can do it with your collections. Because the thing about collections is this. Okay, now you push the collection button. Everybody has, you get enthusiastic and excited about something. Star Trek memorabilia, Beanie Babies, sewing machines, vases, whatever it is, right? Who knows? Everybody collects something. Buttons. When you get all enthusiastic about it, and then you show up someplace where they sell that stuff, you lose your mind, right? And the credit card comes out and smoke starts coming off of it because you're buying. And when you are in that collection, passion, frenzy, buyingness, you make some questionable buying decisions, right? And you go put them all in the collection and go, oh, look at my collection, it's so beautiful. And then, 2 months later you come back and go, probably shouldn't have bought that one. You get to where, after you've sort of gotten past the initial, I love this object, and I'm going to buy everything that has a cat face on it. Right? And then you have 150 cat face things, and then you start to be able to grade them, right? This one is better than that one. This one is better than that one. And so then you can start pulling things off the collection because they're not as good as some of the better ones you have, right? So you start thinning that collection by gradation. The quality, when you're in a buying frenzy, you don't necessarily buy all the good. You get tricked by lesser quality, and you get more discerning the more that you learn about something, right? And so you start getting narrower and narrower in what you're willing to buy, and the stuff that you bought in the beginning starts to look like crap. That's the part of the collection that can go out, because you have this very ultra sophisticated stuff down here now that you've been collecting for 5 years. It's all super extra fabulous and expensive and costs an arm and a leg. And all the early stuff can go because it's not good enough anymore, right? Did you raise your hand?
I just wondered, can that be also for clothing too, because we wear out of clothes and stuff?
Yeah.
Or is that, okay.
That the ability to grade one thing against another in a category is the perfect way to call your stuff. Do you have 15 black shirts? Yes. Are they all equal? No. Some of them are nicer quality, some of them are lesser quality. Some of them are falling apart. Some of them have never been worn.
Right.
So you can always go through and take your 15 pairs of pants and thin them down by shape and size and whatever makes you happy. Because there's some that are really make you happy all the time, and some that were, you bought them and now you're kind of sorry that you did. Don't let those take up closet space. Make them go away.
Can you explain maybe the psychological reasons of why we have to collect? I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
I love that question. Psychological.
Why do we do this?
do we do this? Which of the 15 answers would we like to make today? Let's hear. Ed's going to volunteer.
The one I give people a lot is that I think the evolutionary background of clutter is we evolved in conditions of scarcity, and our ability to hang on to things against the hard times was an adaptive advantage. So, you know, the people who kept their tools survived longer than the people who didn't. But now, you know, we don't live in scarcity anymore, but we still live with that impulse, the thing that says, well, I might need all 6 of these Pyrex pans because, you know, that
Someday there will be an apocalypse and all Pyrex will disappear. Right?
Or I'll have to cook a lot of food for a lot of people.
Right, yeah.
Or like what was it? Like when your great grandmother lives through the Great Depression, I understand why she hangs on to everything. But we're not in the Great Depression.
No. But we did learn at those generations' needs, right?
Yeah.
Their experience was very terrifying and imprinting. And if you were a young person when in the Depression, you grew up with that imprint of we have to save everything because the world might just bottom out. And so those people grew to old age holding on to everything. My favorite description was, I saw a box at somebody's house, very organized. One of the boxes was, here's pieces of string. And there was another little box that was pieces of string too short to use. That was the label. So think about that for a minute. She went to all the trouble to collect, sort, and put string too short to use in a container with a label. Right?
You could use it to start a fire.
You can start a fire, right? But that was the mentality that those people grew up in, and that impulse was super strong. And some people imprinted that down a few generations more than others. And like he's right. We're in a consume culture. America is the leader of buy, right? And we are sold a bill of goods about we're going to look better, we're going to be happier, we're going to have a better relationship, we're going to have the home is going to be better, I'm going to have more friends if I buy this, if I buy this, if I buy this. It's all about convincing us that we need to buy something else. And everything that you see on the television and in the ads and in when you walk in the store is designed to convince you that you need the thing on that table to go home with you for your life to be better, right? People make a living at convincing you to buy more stuff. So that culture is in our pores and drives our responses all the time. Hold on a second. Did you have something to say?
I'm
I'll
just
come back to you.
thinking as a collector, just on a basic level, I think it's pretty and I like it and it makes me happy. So I've got the Vaseline glass and the hobnail and the little Limoges boxes and the little collections of clutter that I think are pretty. And so I don't understand that. It's not really like expensive things, it's just, they're pretty. So, I mean, that's just so stupid.
No, you enjoy looking at them, so that's
I
okay
enjoy
if
looking
they're.
at them, but I can't move around. I mean, I feel very closed in by all the collections, and I can't weed through which ones I want to get rid of.
You haven't collected 27 cats, have you?
No.
Okay, you're ahead then.
Oh, no, I mean, mine
But
are-
I think that the point here is if you're going to collect a whole bunch of things, then in order to fit in a 1,200 square foot house,
Yeah,
you have to collect a few pieces of a whole bunch of things. You can't have a big collection of
That's
all
true.
of the things that you love. Hold on, she's next.
Okay, what about collection of outdated technology? Houses cluttered with phonograph records, floppy disk size CDs, video cassettes.
Yeah, that's our technical writer back there. Exactly. And people ask me about photographs all the time. What do we do about photographs? Photographs were the original outdated software. It was the original outdated technology. They originally, all record of everything that you did, the only thing you could do when you went on vacation in 1930 was take a picture. And that picture was how you showed everybody what you did. And yeah, and now everybody's inheriting those boxes and boxes and boxes of photographs from their parents and wondering what to do with them, right?
Yeah.
We all leave behind, as we evolve, we're all going to leave behind technologies wasteland that in the moment was super important, and a decade from now or 2 decades from now is not going to be. And your ability to process and let go of that stuff is going to be really important, so that you don't have, and you know, early adopters or people that showed up for, like, when computers first came out, they had little Heath kits for those, just like they had televisions, right? And you built your computer, and all of the at-home computer people were building their own computers, like my dad was making his own computer at home, you know. That's what they did in the beginning. And those people have kept every version of technology evolution since then. And when I go in those houses, there's like a banked garage full of dead electronics in there, because they've been collecting all the evolution from when it showed up. If you were lucky enough to be born after it existed, you missed some of the allure of, oh look, there's a new version of the computer out. You think of it as much more disposable than those who watch the advent of the computer age. We're much more attached to it. It's much harder for us to get rid of it. Okay, you came next, and then you, and then you.
What do you do about free stuff? You get the Sunday paper, there are the coupons, and you say, oh, shampoo, $1.50 off. You go to Walmart, and the shampoo's $1.50, so you get a free shampoo. Well, you keep doing that week after week, and the
Stop
next thing
it.
you know,
Stop it.
your refrigerator is full of Chobani yogurt, and you're going, what am I doing? How do I stop? Because you've gotten in the habit. Look, free stuff.
Stop it. I'm serious. Stop it. Because you know what? Somebody's going to have to come behind you when you die and throw all that shampoo away. I'm being funny, but I'm also being serious. Like, let's talk about the idea of Bath and Body Works. All women love Bath and Body Works products, right?
Yes.
They smell good. There's a million flavors, and when you go in that store makes you think you got to have 15 flavors. That store is designed to make you think you need 15 flavors of bath gel.
Because you get 15
Or you're-
free.
Or exactly, right? You buy 2, you get 3, and then so you don't you need to have 12, because then you can have 5 more, right? Okay, so if you ever do the math for how long it takes you to get through one of those bottles, what, like 3 months? So when you 1 year's worth of buying at Bath and Body Works, and you have enough shampoo until 5 years after you die, right? Like there's no way you're going to use it all. So being able to process in your head, this bottle of bath gel is going to take me 4 months to empty. So it doesn't make sense for me to buy 15 bottles right now. Maybe when the 4 months is up, I can go buy another one. Or what I do is I buy the little ones that are supposed to be travel, and then they run out faster, and I can change flavors more often. But I still only keep 3 or 4 at a time of little bitty ones that are 3 ounces. They don't want you to think that, because they want you to buy 15 bottles every 3 months. Right? But that is a recipe for disaster. And it's the same thing with the free shampoo and the vitamins. If you buy 4,700 of them, you get 3 bottles free. Yeah, but then you got to put 4,700 bottles in your house somewhere, and it's going to take 15 years to use it all, and you're going to throw half of it out. So you need to be able to evaluate what you're buying against actual use of the item. You can't stop at, this is a great deal, this is a great deal, therefore I need to give them my money, because that's where they want you to stop. They want you to go, great idea, it's a bargain, here's my cash. You need to go past that and go, yeah, but will I be able to use this in the next decade? And if the answer is no, then stop and walk away. Yes. You. Did you have a
I was
question?
just saying, the other thing too is to like, there will always be a sale. There's always going to be
There's always another sale.
You're not missing out on anything if you forego this one. There's always another sale.
Exactly.
I was basically gonna say, I believe in signs in my house. If I wanna remember something, you can put a sign that says, what's a reasonable amount of, put that in your head, what's a reasonable amount of
Shampoo. What's a
2
reasonable
people
amount of bath
live in the
gel?
house, you don't need 8 umbrellas, you only have 1 body each, kind of thing.
Yeah. Everybody loves to buy toilet paper at Costco. And I'll grant you that, if you have 48 rolls, you can survive the holiday, right? But you got to put 48 rolls somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And that takes up a lot of room, sister. So maybe you can just buy the 12-pack or the 24-pack and go to the store earlier. I mean, there is the whole, there's the time value of money. It's cheaper if you buy a whole bunch more of something, in theory. It's not always true. But then you have to bring all that stuff home and put it somewhere and take up a whole bunch of space. And it continues to take up a whole bunch of space because it takes you 8 months to go through all the toilet paper, right? So maybe it's easier for you to manage your closet if you only have 24-pack or a 12-pack. And when the 12-pack is done, you go back and buy some more toilet paper. And that's less stressful and less irritating than trying to shove 48 rolls in somewhere. You see what I'm saying? So you're trading off, it's a great bargain for, this is easier for me to manage in the house. You see what I'm saying? Okay, you had a question, thank you.
So I'm ready to get rid of all of my cookbooks.
Awesome.
I go up, well, all of my cookbooks, maybe not yours. But I've really found over the last year, I do not go to my shelf that has my cookbooks on it anymore. I just go to allrecipes.curious.com. I can find everything there. Am I crazy? When is the situation gonna come where I go, God, I really wish I had, I mean, there's gonna be a couple of sentimental ones.
So are you asking for permission to let go of your cookbooks?
I'm not asking you, I'm asking y'all. Is there any reason I don't want to get rid of my cookbooks?
No. Let them go.
It's
Here's the thing. Everybody has all cooks have a go-to set. 3 or 4 cookbooks that they go to all the time. And if you don't have that, awesome. But if you do 80% of your cooking out of 3 cookbooks, and then all the rest of them are, entertainment, then you can let them go. Take them to the library and donate them. Yeah. I think that you have traded your way of saving recipes and letting the cookbooks go is a reasonable thing to do. Okay, who else had a question over here? You.
Yeah.
So I'm working my way around you, Kathy.
Over the holidays, I went through photos also. I tackled papers. And the photos were pretty easy to let go. I probably got rid of 50%.
Good.
Because there was only less than 5 pictures that would ever be considered for National Geographic.
Right?
So
that's awesome.
Easy.
That's good. Lots of people have trouble with photos. Yes, ma'am.
I've finally gotten to the point where I can, when you're talking about the Bath and Body Works personal care item
collection,
where I have to reason in my head when I'm at the store that I can't use 15 ounces of shampoo in 2 months. And you have to start buying things only when you're running out.
Yes. Yes. I want you guys to give her the applause right now. Thank you. That's exactly right. There is no reason to store 400,000 ounces of shampoo. When you get down to the bottom of the bottle, go to the store and buy a fresh one. Woohoo. It's going to be there. And that's the benefit of, this is where we are in our culture. You live in Houston, Texas. There is a CVS pharmacy on every corner. You can get shampoo at 2 o'clock in the morning if you need it. If you are desperate, you can find some shampoo. So don't stress about getting low until you're actually low.
I couldn't get a prescription filled at 8 in the evening because the pharmacy area was closed.
Well, yeah. So you have to work with them a little.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're going to take a lot less drugs than you're going to take shampoo. Yes, ma'am.
Well, one good thing is I listened to what you were just saying, and when the semi-annual Bath and Body Works, I did not go, I did nothing online, I just completed it. I still got plenty, because I have a bag and I'm like, oh, it's going to take a while.
And it's not going anywhere, right? And it doesn't, the smell doesn't go bad in the bottle. It's
And I've got
okay.
like 5 of them in the shower, I just do a different one every day. But my question is there a place to donate semi-old, like, one step removed technology? Like I've got a 2-wire
If it
AT&T
still works,
router, and I've got another wireless router and a modem.
if it still works, you can donate to Goodwill. They will take the stuff that actually is, you plug it in, it'll still run like it's supposed to. They have started taking functioning electronics. So you can donate it there. And
Apple products have a recycling program for Apple products if you have any of those.
there you go. Apple products. Okay. All right.
Up on the north side of town, there was a group. I don't know the name. It was almost like a battered women's and children's group that was taking it. And they actually, I brought them a couple of laptops, part of my decluttering, and I said, I think there's still they're old, but they think they're still functioning. And they go, it doesn't matter. They get X amount of dollars and they are stripped. They go in, there's beryllium, there's gold, there's whatever
Right, they take it
in
apart.
those things. So there's that. But I think if you Google give something, you'll find some needy groups that will take it and use it well.
Yeah, it is a fundraising thing that they do with nonprofit organizations to take dead electronics like that and recycle it, cell phones, thank you, and
Yeah.
stuff, and do what you say,
Chargers
take them
or something.
apart and do that stuff, yeah,
It's
and raise
called-
money. Hi.
One of those places that, it may be that one, it's called CompuDot, DOPT, CompuDot.
Okay.
So you take computers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mailed cell phones off to a place that recycles cell phones, and it's designed to be a fundraising thing. They pay me just about nothing for them, but I don't care. I just want them to go be responsibly regathered. So that's why I send it off. Who else?
For me, it's about the timing.
Timing.
I think that it's a management on the time when the clutter is, because I wasn't able to control my sense of the time.
So you find time to be an issue,
No.
managing the time?
Yeah.
So you get distracted easily, is that what you mean? So one of the things that I tell people to do is get out the old-fashioned kitchen timer that you dial and it tick, 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 tick. The one that sits on the stove and makes a little clicking noise. Because if you set it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes and you can hear it clicking in the background, that helps people stay focused for some reason. I don't know what the psychology is behind that, and it's completely artificial. But somehow listening to the passage of time tick in the corner while you work helps you stay focused. And then if you have wandered off and forgotten, and the timer will go off and ding, it'll make a buzzing noise or whatever, and you'll be going, oh yeah, I was in there doing that. And you can go back and it's a way to recall you if you've walked away. It'll go off at the end of your 30-minute time slot or whatever and pull you back in the room. So that's one way. Who else is managing their time well? Do you have a suggestion for me, Susan? Off the top of your head? One is to work with a buddy, have somebody be there with you, because having somebody to talk to, who even if they just sit there while you work, helps you stay on task. What about?
Well, I was just going to add that I think the value of part of the value of the timer is you can stand anything for, no matter how unbearable, you can stand anything for 10, 15, 20, 25. You have to pick your own number, but it's like, I hate clearing paper worse than anything, but I can bear it. I can bear to go through stacks of mail for 25 minutes. And so knowing the timer is going, the timer is my release at the end.
Right.
And it makes it more tolerable, more
Makes you
palatable
willing to stay
somehow.
on task, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if you can only stand it for 25 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes is better than 0, right? So if you manage to stay on until the timer goes off, you're 20 minutes ahead of the game. And if you're still feeling good and you've gotten into a groove, you set it for 30 more minutes and do it again. But the idea is that it creates a window, and I'm only going to work during this time. And so then it's easier for you to stay focused. It seems to help people. The other thing is to make an agreement with somebody. If somebody's not sitting with you, you can call and say, okay, I'm gonna work on paper. Call me in half an hour. Or call me in an hour and ask me how I'm doing. And make people check in with you and ask you what you're doing.
So is anybody in here willing to become the clean buddy? Like,
Yes. Speak to her after the meeting tonight, guys. Yes.
What I found is when there was so much stuff, it would just overwhelm me, so I wouldn't do it. So that when I started doing like what you said, I would say, okay, this is what I'm going to work on, whether it's going through my jewelry, because I love my jewelry. So I had to, and I stopped going to the jewelry shows because then I thought, yeah, that's what I did. So, but I would say, okay, I'm gonna work on it for, like you said, an hour, because I can stand it for an hour, and then like I've been helping my daughter in her house, and I got her sons to help, but I told her we're gonna set a time with them, and for the first hour they're like but then we realized how much we got accomplished with them helping her.
Yes.
So we've been doing stuff at her house, but I found that I had to just say I was going to do it for an hour, and like you said, if I was really getting into it, I said, but then I stopped, because then but I had to break it up because
Mhm.
otherwise I'd get overwhelmed. And then I was upset because I didn't accomplish anything. So when I broke it up and did it for that hour, and even though it didn't look like I did it, then another day I worked another, and then
Suddenly you're at the end, right?
I'm done.
The other thing that people do is break it up by surface. So if I'm going to organize the room is too big, maybe I'm going to organize the top of the desk. If that's too big, I'm going to organize this corner of the desk. If that's too big, I'm going to organize this little drawer. You know, I mean, keep shrinking the project focus until you can do it and stay on task and not be overwhelmed, where you can make forward motion. When you get the drawer done, woohoo, now you can go to the top of the desk. When you get that done, woohoo, now you can, you know, do something else in the room. So if you're having trouble being overwhelmed by, here's my junk room and I don't know where to start, then just tell yourself, I'm going to clear the floor in front of the doorway, and that's all you're going to work on.
I'm just curious, in your line of work, what type of things do you see that people collect the most? Like linens, towel sheet, and what?
Paper.
Paper.
Paper. I mean, there's, yeah, right, paper. There's a lot, I mean, and the reason I say paper, it isn't that paper takes up, well, for some people it does, but the thing about paper is, you know, you have 3 pieces of linen, right? And you fold them up and they're this tall. But this much paper is 500 pieces of paper. And that's 500 different pieces of information, decisions, all jammed in a space this big, right?
Yeah.
So once you get a desk covered in paper, you've got a whole bunch of decisions and nobody ever wants to dig through them. So we collect the paper because everyone universally hates managing paper. I mean, everybody that I work with hates managing paper. There's a few people out there that are okay with it, and organizers, you know, I do it, I don't like it, but I can open me some mail, man. I can rip through your mailbox. If you have a, you know, cardboard box full of mail, wait, I can empty that sucker like that. Rip, 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 and I'm pulling, you know, 3/4 of it is trash anyway. It's envelopes and contents and advertisements, and I can get that stuff out of there and hand you the 12 pieces of paper that might mean something. And I can do that in, you know, half an hour. So, I don't love it, I do it, and I think that paper is an Achilles heel for everybody. And there is no one collection that's more universally collected than the other. There are too many different tastes, right? Everybody's got completely different
Good paper,
tastes.
I think. Yeah,
In
I
general,
would say that's the worst one for me.
Everybody drowns in paper.
Because it never stops coming in. Never.
Exactly.
You know, whereas you don't go out and you might not go out to Bath and Body Works but once a month, but
right.
And you're
paper
really
keeps
not
coming
going to
in.
go back and read a great article 5 years later. You're really not.
That's why I like
There's always good news.
What was that?
I love Pinterest. Pinterest is an electronic version of
Yeah.
saving. I have a file that says beautiful doorways, and when I see a picture of a beautiful doorway, I pin it to my file that says that. And instead of clipping things and cutting them out, I have it in there, and
I know.
And that's really kept me from feeling like I need to look at magazines and clip out recipes.
Yay. Yes, if Pinterest has done nothing else, it's allowed people to park way more stuff than they ever needed in a way that affects them in no way whatsoever. And that's awesome, right? Because you do not want to be drowned in all those clipped pictures of doorways. Yes, ma'am.
The other way to restrict things is your rule of 27.
Yes.
Touch 27 things and then stop.
Yes, that's a good one. Thank you for reminding me of that. So this is, you know, we laugh about the 27 pickup game. Get one trash bag and one donation bag, and you go around the house and pick up 27 pieces of trash. And when you count to 27, you close the bag and put it in the trash. And you go around the house and pick up 27 things that are donations. When the bag is full, you go put it in the car. It's completely artificial number. It's just a good big number. And it doesn't involve undoing a room. It's just randomly walking around the house, plucking things out. And at the end, you've got 2 bags full of stuff that is no longer in your house. And it's a super simple way that doesn't involve anything other than standing there with a bag in your hand and going, yes, yes, yes. And you don't have to undo anything else. Okay, so we are at the end of our day, and I want to say that I need to say this one thing. I'm dedicating this episode to my mother, who passed away in December. She was the biggest Clutter Fairy fan ever, and this is the first episode that I've done without her watching, and so I'm very sad, but this is for you, Mom. Thanks.